to my knowledge, have not been on camera to the extent that we've been able to film. And that will look at the termas, the secret teachings, the hidden teachings, and we'll try and find some. So I'll bring it back. So stay tuned. Questions, please. Yes. Popcorn. It's interesting you mentioned popcorn because in Myanmar, one of the people I met there was telling me that Nagas love popcorn. I mean, normally we give offering to Nagas of milk and very clear water, but he said they love popcorn, so I pass it on for whatever it's worth. In Myanmar, they like popcorn. So, yeah. Other questions, please?
What's a good way to access your movies?
Right now, they're on our website, and I'll leave some name cards, and you can access that. They're only in what we call art theater or salon like this. We have just launched a Chinese website, which will be public soon, and that allows it to be seen in China because there's firewalls and other kind of walls. We just started taking it in steps. The film will be shown in the Bay Area, and CK has been very kind to organize some showings. I'll also be back in June 29th. I've been invited to the 11th Buddhist conference at Berkeley that will convene there, and it will be the main film shown at the conference. So again, we just through Sangha, through networks, we're showing the film. I'll tell you the reason why, because we did the premiere in Vancouver. We won the, I think, Best Documentary Film Award, and then at the Golden Maple Leaf, and as soon as I got back to Beijing, it was all over it had been copied. And then, Tencent came to us and said, well, would you, come to our office and talk about it? Within like 1 hour, it had 80,000 hits and something like that. And I said, well, take it down and I'll come to your office. And I got there and they basically wanted the copyright, for free. And so we had it taken off all of the Chinese websites. And then we are only, keeping it, for small groups like this until the appropriate time when we'll expand it. So we just want to take it in steps.
Could you say more about what called upon you to produce this work?
What called upon me to do this particular film? It was a dream as the film opens up. And I had a series of dreams about Guru Rinpoche. I think the first time he appeared in a dream was after a near plane crash in Kathmandu. We had diverted the crash and landed in Dhaka, and that night he appeared. And then kept appearing. And then in one of the appearances, he stood there in front of me and said, my 8 manifestations are 8 quantum energy fields, now go tell the world. And then he went back in and took his seat as a statue. And I believe the statue image is the one in Farping. So I woke up and I said, okay, I gotta do this. And at the time, there were two things. I knew, I was mostly a Denum practitioner, Kala Chakra, and so I, knew the 8 manifestations, but I didn't know the details. And then I didn't know anything about quantum physics. So we set up a research team and we tried to understand the 8 manifestations, what each of them was as a story, and where it took place. And soon it appeared that there was a route that it began in Pakistan and India, and there were actual locations where these manifestations appeared. And we also put together a science team and started to try to understand what was the quantum physics behind each manifestation. And that was about a year of work, just trying to prepare. So from 2017, we just did preparation work. And then in 2018, we did all the filming in a 6-month go. And we traveled the whole route wherever, we could find the footprint. We went to see it. And that's what we have today, is the film.
Is there a text that accompanies this?
There will be a book. So in addition, because what you have is an hour and 10 minutes here, and we have countless interviews and huge volumes of material. I mean, literally, stacks of material, and we're now trying to refine it down into a book and publish that book, hopefully, maybe by the end of the year. And the second film that we're doing now, Return of the Lotus-Born Master, also will be a book. We have, again, huge volume of material and some really amazing thoughts from both very, high lamas and some really amazing people in the science and technology field who are helping us to understand these, these connections.
Has His Holiness involved himself with what you're
No, it's Raja Rinpoche, who's the Holiness of the Nima, has been extremely supportive, and actually he'll be interviewed for the next film next week. As soon as I leave California, I'm going back to Kathmandu to film. Basically, just the lamas who are here and who we encountered on the road. There's a lot of very fortuitous situations that occurred. We all, throughout the journey, we keep saying, this whole film is blessed by Padmasambhava. I mean, there were things that we couldn't explain. Like, for instance, Sangye Monastery in Tibet is almost impossible to get into it to film. I mean, that's like impossible. And the day the cinematographer arrived there, the door was open, he walked in, and just went around and filmed everything. And, my cinematographer, Doyen, is probably the most experienced cinematographer in the Northern Himalayas. And he's I've never seen this. And I were just repeated situations. And so many of the situations arose spontaneously. And so there was actually not that much planning in the sequence of interviews. It was more planning of the research and locations. Yes?
In your opening scenes there was a very, very quick image of Padmasambhava, and the nimbus was the 8 manifestations. And I was just wondering if you could tell us the source of that particular picture.
We had quite a few. There were murals there were a series of tankas that we filmed. And if you ever have the chance in the Berkeley area, there's a Lumbini Gallery, which is in the Shambhala Center. And the Lumbini Gallery was founded by Anil Thapa, who himself is a tanka painter. And he's actually, I think, in the coming months, he's going to go and do his 3-year retreat. He's also a Nakpa yogi. And he had a number of tankas that either he had painted or personally done, and that was a collection that we had access to in Nepal. There were other murals that are actually on location. One of the murals I know we did was in Swayambhu. Another one is in Bhutan. So we had a number of the murals. So I'm not sure which of the ones of the 8 manifestation you're referring to, but they were either murals that are in Lakangs, temples, or tankas that we used. There's some statues. The really big statues of the 8 manifestations are in Damkar Monastery, which is in Yushu. And that's a very large Kamagaji monastery, one of the largest, and under His Holiness Karmapa system. And those are there.
But if you saw your film again, and say slow motion or whatever, or by stills, would you be able to identify the source?
Of course, I can identify the source of everything in here. Yeah, because I filmed it.
This wasn't a statue. This was probably a tanka or a mural. This particular thing, which I found personally striking.
Right.
The central figure, the central image is Padmasambhava, and in the halo around him are the 8 manifestations. I thought that presentation to me was very effective, and I had not seen that except once before in a local Dharma center email message, but it wasn't clear. But on your picture here, it was very clear, crystal clear, each of the 8.
I suspect that that's the personal tanka that Anil Thapa uses for his own practice. And Anil Thapa. Anil Thapa is the founder of Lumbini Gallery in Berkeley. The Lumbini Gallery is a tanka gallery, and it's in the Shambhala Center, right just a short walk down from the university. And in Nepal, he has his school there for Thangka painting, and he gave me access to the Thangka that he personally uses. It's his own private Thangka for his own practice. And I believe that that might be that Thangka, because the workmanship is exquisite and very detailed.
My word exactly, the images were exquisite. And I picked up on Ron's term of quick and slow motion. I found the technique very fast. Was that for a reason?
The filming technique or editing technique, that's my style. And I think my style emerged probably because when I started my first film, Searching for Shangri-La, I worked with a lot of pop music people. And so my editing team were actually MTV. So I picked up that style, and it's just a style. So we have, you know, it goes fast, and I like fast editing. It's just a personal. It's like the Harvard or Stanford of China, and in their art museum. And by the time it got there, we started to bring in technology. And so those are actually brainwave readers. So my sculptures, which are sculptures of monks with robes, but you can't see their faces. The faces are black, so there's no faces. And then in the middle is a Kala Chakra mandala. So when you use the brainwave, and it reads on your pineal gland, and you can reach kind of a, you know, close to an alpha state, then what happens is the mandala forms, and it appears. And depends on the group, because everybody has to be in synchronism for that. If someone's off key, then it doesn't move so quickly, and then at the end it disappears into sand. And so was one of the exhibits. We'll do an exhibit eventually for the Lotus-Born Master series as well, and actually UNESCO has approached us on that, thinking that the film represents, in their words, heritage, culture, ecology, and science. And so hopefully we'll have an exhibit that will come here at some point.
What would one search for online to explore that technology further?
There's a company called Brain Code in Beijing that does that.
Okay.
I could give you their contact.
Great.
So
Excellent.
I'm sure there must be a lot here in the valley that's also, you know, very advanced on that. So.
Great, thank you.
Other questions? Yes?
I don't have a question, I kind of have an inspirational take on
Yeah.
the film. And being that it shows Rinpoche as being a being who has actually embodied all the quantum stuff, that it would maybe inspire those individuals that have seen the film to make a direct connection with Rinpoche by possibly receiving an empowerment and learn 7-line prayer, learn the Vajraguru mantra, and actually get directly connected with the Lotus-Born Master. I'm just thinking that hopefully, maybe in your going on with the film, that might be something that you can somehow bring in the sense of individuals who want to make a direct connection with him should seek out a teacher or a lama to receive an empowerment to actually directly connect with him through practice.
That's great. I mean, if our film can inspire that, I mean, that would be the best thing we could accomplish. And I think it's a great idea, maybe even as it moves, that maybe we can have some of the Rinpoches do this in the different screenings. So I think that's a brilliant, brilliant idea. And thank you very much. That is inspiration in itself. Thank you. Great. No more questions, comments, inspirations? Gregory.
What hope can something like this present maybe in a world that seems to be spinning out of control, politically, economically, all these forces, and a lot of dark, unpredictable forces out there, it seems like. So can there be some hope out of an expression like this, or deeper understanding captured by this film?
I think if we crossed over all, regardless of what the lines are, political, religious, if we look at the story of Guru Padmasambhava in Tibet, It was a Bun, predominantly Bun religion at the time, and there was a lot of difficulty in trying to bring Buddhism in. And what he did was he came and he absorbed, he embraced, he didn't conflict, he didn't say, my view is correct, yours is wrong. He'd come into a region where there might be a local deity, a local mountain or something that, you know, deity that was worshipped, and he'd say, yeah, and he said, this is our protector. And so all the protectors are basically Bun deities that had been pulled, or at least many of the protectors or Bun deities that had been pulled over into the common embracing. And I think this idea of embracing rather than putting things away, or ultimately what we talk about in the Yapyam or the consort yoga, it's not about sex, it's about non-duality. It's about achieving a state where it's not you versus me or them versus, you know, it's all of us, and we're living in an interconnected world now. It's more interconnected, not only by, you know, internet, but by trade, by everything that we have, pick up and touch is coming from somewhere else or going somewhere else. And so I think it's a time that we all have to work together, and I think as David Molden, the scientist who came in at the end, said, I mean, climate is our biggest challenge. If we destroy our climate, none of us are here. And so maybe the teachings of the Guru Rinpoche, of Padmasambhava, are very appropriate as we are in this age of generation. And as the prophecy goes, he will come back as the Lotus King and herald the age of Shambhala, an age of respect and, you know, care for the environment and care for each other. So, thank you. Yes?
I loved your film very much, and I understand that there is an expense to making a film, but you yourself said that you had so much footage already, and I just think the film could have been longer. I agree with the lady here, Jane, that the images went by so fast, we were being flashed with stuff, interesting material that we would not be seeing elsewhere. You got to go to places where other people can't go. And so it would have been, I think, I would have enjoyed seeing more of these people than just a whiz going around. You covered a lot of ground, but maybe this film in 2 pieces would have been better for me. And so that's one thing, that there were too many images going by too fast. And secondly, these people that you are interviewing, and then this high-tech technique of on the side of the screen there, where you put a little scientific matrix of actually who the person was, who they were, what was their organization, and then what their particular skill was. That would have been interesting too, but it went by so fast it was impossible to read in the first place. And secondly, it actually distracted from listening to what the person was saying. So I think they could have been introduced by somebody, by a narrator, projecting or inserting themselves into the film. Just the whole thing could have been longer and slower, and I think more effective.
These are very constructive, very helpful. We ran into a problem with some of the people we interviewed because we said, you need to give us your bio, and they would insist on these very long bios, and we'd have to negotiate it back. And it's really funny because some of the really high lamas, really high lamas, they'd have like 2 lines for their bio. And then somebody was like, so, you know, what we've done now is we're insisting that people say no more than 3 things about themselves on the bio. And then we are, I think, you know, I agree with a lot of your comments, looking back after we edited and after we've screened it and it's gone into film festivals. We have a lot of footage. We have a lot of things that I would like to use. Some of it will be used in the next film. We also have people saying to us, gee, you know, after you do the second, and there's a third one, by the way, in planning for 2020, maybe we should be doing 8 30-minute films, so it's actually a series of the 8 manifestations, because we'll have a lot to talk about each of those manifestations, actually. And so Your comments, I really appreciate. They're spot on. These are things we're considering as a filmmaker. I always sit in the back and I rewatch it and say, what did we do wrong? What could we do better? And these are all very, very constructive inputs that I appreciate very much. And we'll be certainly put into the next edit. We can go back and edit this sometime, but that requires a lot of work because we have to redo sound. But the idea of doing maybe a series of 8, I think will be probably on the agenda as we move forward. And yeah, I got my work cut out for me. So.
J.K. Rowling, her Harry Potter was so creative and so interesting that one didn't mind the length of them. And
right.
In a similar situation here, that you're overflowing with brilliance and never tiring.
Thank you. I mean, I think, your words of encouragement, probably we need to re-edit, put more things in. So that's great. Thank you very much. Yes.
Laurence, one thing that may suffice until then is a small pamphlet, perhaps giving the bio in the pamphlet on each of the presenters.
That's
and then even having 8 pages, one for
right.
each of the manifestations, or be a small just pamphlet that you could include for
right.
those who want to take a little bit with them.
That's great. That's a great idea. To do a pamphlet with the 8 manifestations described and then presenters.
Yes, yes.
Good idea. Very nice. Great. Yes?
Is there a possibility you have this in a DVD format? Because I would love to watch it again, but it's going by so quickly.
There is a request for DVD. We haven't done it commercially. Our studio in Beijing is doing them one-offs. So again, I'll leave my card. If you write to me, we'll get you a DVD. It may take a little while because they're backlogged on things, but it would happen, yes. And so that we have actually the equipment in the studio to do that. So.
Oh, and then we could play and stop on our remote.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, just slowly.
So perhaps we could get a sign-up list for those interested in the DVD, and we can get that to Laurence before you.
That's great.
If that's a possibility, we have a bookstore here, so that if you want, we can have it
Wonderful.
for our bookstore. But you were saying you have a lot of extra footage. Is there sort of like, how we have some other commercial films, you also have a second DVD
Director's cut.
that has a director's cut or additional info that we can add into it so that if all that footage will be so useful.
Yeah. I think what we'll probably, it sounds like what people are asking for is a longer edition of the film. And to be frank, that just requires me to sit down with the editing team and to work on it. And that's, it's a project because to take it apart and re-edit is, it involves a lot of technical issues. We have to redo sound, we have to redo a lot of things.
That's why I'm thinking a second DVD.
Yeah. I think what we're probably going to do is, some people have also said to me, hey, this is a table of contents. It's 8 manifestations and you can go deeper on each one. Of course we can. The science is also increasingly going deeper. I mean, we have some really interesting quantum physics people coming to us now who are really working with us on the science side of it. And so I think the next film, which will be on we go to Bhutan, we go to Takseng, the tiger's nest. And I'll tell you what we did. If you look at Takseng, who's been to Bhutan here? Okay, well, you saw the images of tiger's nest. That's like the iconic. If you look above it, there's a mountain. But what you don't realize is beyond the mountain is another mountain. And we went there. And that took like 10 hours of hiking. We arrived at the end of the day. And that is the place where Guru Padmasambhava and Khandro Ishi Soto gave teachings to 100,000 dakinis. That's the Bundra. Taksan, Toga, Bundra. And Bundra is the place where they gave teachings to 100,000 dakinis. And we stayed up there at the snow line. And it was just really exciting. And wherever you touch the ground, there's crystal. I mean, it's amazing. And so, we're going to be going into the whole idea of parallel universes much deeper. We're going to be looking at the concept of the Dakini, and that's just for the next film in connection with the secret teachings, the hidden teachings, the universal cloud. So stay tuned. A lot of material from the previous will be used going forward. And as I said, we're already working on the 2020 film shoot planning. So that will take us to Ladakh and to other caves and places that we've, apparently there's 13 taksengs across the Himalayas, so we're going to go try and find them. So anyway, those are the expeditions ahead, but all those things will be surfacing and manifesting. So thank you. Baba's sword hidden in it, Excalibur. And we have, then we went to Tsunangye, which is another hidden realm. So basically we were going to all these hidden realms, and so yeah, there's always something more to find. But yeah, Bundra's a place in many ways didn't want to come back from. I could have stayed there. Yeah. Yes.
The 8 manifestations,
Are here.
4 on each side.
That's right. Very appropriate space for us to show the film and to be here, and feel blessed to be here today and to meet all of you. I want to thank you very much. And Rinpoche, would you like to say some words? So thank you very much, and thank all of you for being here. I look forward to coming back with the people.
Going around, you gotta see the picture. Actually dissects a little bit more of the corner. It's cool. It's like, because I can't wrap my head around it. That's what he's getting.
Thank you, that was awesome. Yeah, all right.
Seriously? So when the nature and minds almost overlap, that's when you have more of a unification and connected.
Yeah, don't forget to ask them for that. What are you going to ask them for?
That's like the these ages of like Mary with Jesus. That's the sun. That's the sun. That's the Rigpa, recognizing the mother.
Which one? 7-line?
Wow. You gotta keep interacting with people.
Come in with a bottle and smash the bottle on the table. He came and said, "Here, turn it a little bit like this and spin it this way." And they were like, "Oh my God, that's how it should have been done the whole time." That's what he's saying. How he came in and it destroyed.
Okay, CK.
Destroyed because they're just going to be left following you around like a bunch of.
Yeah.